I've been waiting a while for something to finally pop out of range. Today's video, I want to talk about what do I do when something comes out of range? And more importantly, how do I think about even entering positions? How do I think about ranges? Why are some of these so tight? Like, why is this ETH USDC pair so tight? And in all fairness, this is probably a 3-hour conversation, which we won't have time to just put in one video. So if you're interested in more conversations like this, do let me know in the comments and I can probably make a series, like a weekly series around this. And more importantly, request a free course because we do cover some of that in the free course. Just let me know below, free course, we'll make sure we send you the link. We're always adding some awesome stuff to it. So as you can see, I moved out of range just barely, and this ETH BTC pair has been in range for quite a while, minor little adjustments, but I really want to explain the process here. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to actually go into the UIG, which if you're not a member yet, for a coffee per day, highly recommend you join. We have members winning like crazy. I just posted this again. We get 3 or 4 of these per day. My $4,500 lending position, which this is why I love DeFi, because we can create cash flow. I call the other way, like the buy, the hold, and the hope. You don't have that much control, and I'm all for buying and holding, but if I can create cash flow. So Angela played a play that we're really big on, and she lent $4,500 of assets, was cash flowing those assets as they appreciated. Now she has $24,000, has been creating cash flow the whole time, and that's the power of DeFi. We have more control. So if you're not in the UIG, highly recommend you join. If you are in the UIG, do check out the DeFi frameworks, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Please know so much goes into even entering a position. The research into the assets, assessing the risk. Everything to us is risk reward. And I wouldn't enter a 1000% APR position if the risk was like 5,000 times more than a 200% position. It's all risk reward. And when we adjust for the risk, crypto DeFi and blue chips within the crypto DeFi space on major dexes blow the doors off traditional investing. But I think people in the crypto DeFi space sometimes forget that they'll take on insane amount of risk for just a little bit more reward. And adjusted for risk, their choices simply just don't make sense, and it's why they keep on losing. I want to be in this game for the long term because compounded month over month for years, even at 3-4%, let's just call it 50% a year, which you literally have to be a dummy to not do 50% a year in DeFi. But I would rather do 50% a year over year for 10 years, rather than have a 400% year and then lose it all the next because I'm a gambler. So make sure you go through all of these. Please make sure you go through the liquidity entry criteria because your entry is more important than anything else. We want to enter these things correctly. That said, once you're in it, we're going to look at these two: liquidity pool assessment exit criteria and liquidity pool management. And remember, we also have a 24-hour rule. So this just got out of range. I'm not going to touch this. This has actually popped out of range a few times, but because I'm so tightly correlated, I'm not too worried about it. And we're actually going to look at a chart of the Bitcoin ETH pair that I'm in. This is my range. And with this range, since November 27th, even with that tight range, you would have been in range pretty much the whole time. You would have popped out of range for a quick second here, popped out of range for a quick second, popped out of range for, 8 hours, 12 hours, back in range. So it's really important to set your range from the get-go of like, you're actually looking at the charts and you're mapping out your range. Now, I did have some comments of like, oh, Bitcoin and ETH shot up in price, you must be out of range. I'm not, because they're correlated. Let me know if this is making sense versus this is non-correlated, but this is a purely cash flow play because I'm holding the underlying assets in my lent position here. So I have $90,000 worth of lent ETH. This is my appreciation. So this keeps going up in value. This is purely cash flow. And all I need this to do is the cash flow to far outpace the impermanent loss, which by far it's been doing, because I'm earning typically around 300% on this and the price is only going up. So I'm not losing out on appreciation. And so this kind of brings to question of like your entry. What is the overall strategy? Because it would be very dumb for me to take this 90 grand and instead of lending it, just go straight into this position, because I'd be seeing impermanent loss and I'd be losing out on the upside. And I wouldn't be maximizing the potential. Versus this, very different, super correlated. Maybe during even filming this video, it might pop back into range. Looks like it's heading back that way. We popped out for a minute. My bottom is 25.86. And we're kind of trending back up there. So we'll see if the momentum brings us back into range while even filming this video. We'll see what happens. That said, let's pop in the UIG. And while we wait for that to maybe play out, I want to look at this is how we assess pools. So obviously we go through some question. Am I in range? Yes. Has anything fundamentally changed in this pool? So let's just say every week you're assessing your positions. Has anything fundamentally changed? Are they going in a different direction with the project? Has some news come up around an asset? Is some new regulation happening? What's going on there? 3, am I achieving my target APR? Is this position still paying me what it's worth? Because you could be in the same position and it starts paying you less, and adjusted for risk, you might find that it's not worth it anymore and you get out of that position. And ultimately, of course, you do have to track your LP position value. So my Bitcoin and my ETH position, is it worth X amount? And am I tracking the movement of that? Now, what happens if you get out of range? You really only have one of 3 options. The traditional rebalance, which typically like people will rebalance their position, and I'll show you this in VFAT in a second, but they rebalance their position and they just do like a 50-50 rebalance, and they lock in a chunk of impermanent loss that now they have to earn a couple days or sometimes a couple weeks worth of fees just to make up for that impermanent loss. We like to do what we call the Snuggle rebalance. Or again, if it no longer meets your criteria, you may want to exit the position completely. I'm typically not in many pools and not in many assets and not in many investments that I'm not betting on for the next 5 years. That creates a lot of peace in my day-to-day in my portfolio. So for instance, just in this instance, I'm in an ETH and a BTC pair. If I click on view farm, you can see that right now I'm in 100% Bitcoin and 0% ETH. Why? Because BTC and ETH are both going up in price, but ETH shot up in price a little bit quick over the last day or two than BTC, and I converted all into Bitcoin. My position keeps gaining value because Bitcoin keeps going up in value. So to me, I'm either cash flowing or I'm riding appreciation. It's a win-win for me, which is why I'm able to set a tighter range, and then I can snuggle rebalance once the chaos dies down. Meaning if volume drops a little bit and like all the craziness in the market drops a little bit and I see a little bit of a pattern, I can reset a nice range and I can snuggle rebalance. And I'm also happy to do a video just on snuggle rebalancing, but the point is I can rebalance it. So as of right now, let's just say I'm not rebalancing right now because I have a 24-hour rule. It is highly likely that this will come back into range. And by the way, both BTC and ETH can drop in value and I'll stay in range the whole way, but I'm in BTC and ETH. So instead of just holding the assets, I'm cash flowing them the whole time. Please let me know if this, hit the like, let me know in the comments, is this making sense? But because BTC and ETH are something I'm holding for the long term, I don't think we've seen nothing yet. I do think we saw some excitement around the 100K Bitcoin, and I do think a bunch of people are kind of FOMOing into the markets. This bull run ain't over. And so even if both slide down in price and my liquidity pool price drops, don't care, I'm in BTC and ETH and I'm cash flowing the whole time, even if I have to snuggle rebalance a little bit. Same on the upside. As BTC and ETH skyrocket even higher, I can stay within this range, or if things are going a little bit crazy, I can always widen up my ranges a little bit. And again, set a 6% or 8% or even 12 or 14% range. The point is, I've done my homework before I entered. I think it's super scary when someone is like, oh, I'm out of range, what do I do? What was your initial target and goal in the first place when you entered? Most of my work goes in before I enter. After that, it's pretty easy. And so again, slightly out of range, I'm going to wait 24 hours. Chances are high I'll go back into range. If I don't, I can always snuggle rebalance, which would look something to the tune of this. 626 on BTC and ETH at a 5% wide range, and I just snuggle the top. So I'd buy back some ETH and I'd be in like a 90% Bitcoin, 10% ETH back to my cash flow. But again, correlated blue chips, to me, it's the way to go. We did that with SUI, we did that with ETH, we did that with BTC, you can do that with Sol, you can do it with BNB. And I stick to the blue chips and you can earn some really juicy yields, especially when you're correlated. Let me know if you want a video just on correlated pairs. Like it'll be a 10-minute lesson and I'm happy to teach it. And finally, just to wrap this up, I hope this is a good teaching moment. Lucas, why are you in a non-correlated pair here? Because remember, this is my appreciation. This is my bag. Please let me know if anything landed. I want these videos to be valuable to you. In fact, if something did land, let me know in the comments. Did you get an aha moment? Double points if you just hit me up on Instagram at Rubixinator. We're doing some really awesome giveaways over the month of December. And it's a great way for us to have a bit of a conversation in the DMs. And my only cost of admission for these videos is if this video had value to you, if these videos are helping you in some way, shape, or form, again, like and subscribe to the channel, but share it with someone who you think these could help. Maybe they're gambling a little bit, or maybe they're thinking of entering crypto and they want to buy all this Bitcoin. And you're like, hold up. Don't gamble, invest. This channel is by investors for investors. And I think a lot of people, I'd say 90% plus of people in crypto are gambling. Maybe even you or a lot of people watching this video, I want to keep brainwashing us into thinking like investors. Slow and steady, compounded over time, beats 99% of people who are gambling. We hear the small percent of people who made $1 million off their 10K and then we think that's the norm. It's the exception. It's the lottery winner. And what's cool about this cash flow game is if you can build a nice solid portfolio, then you can take some of your cash flows, some of your profits and go gamble in. And if you hit it big, awesome. But if you don't lose everything. Every single day you wake up a little bit richer than you were yesterday. And that compounded over time, to me, equals peace, equals freedom, equals time freedom, all that fun stuff. So again, share this with someone who you feel could use it. And if you're not in the UIG yet, or if you are in the UIG, you've just been kind of slacking, check out the DeFi framework session. Go through all of these, study them, apply them. You will become a successful DeFi investor. And that's that. Appreciate y'all. Let me know if anything landed. And with that said, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.